We had snowed this morning, but it melted already. Still we're in Christmas spirits. Cat is sleeping. And my mom is making pierogies. Hello, and welcome to our channel, One Mom's Cookery and Bakery. My name is Lina Garba, and this is my mom, Luda Pushkarova. And it is December outside, and guess what we're cooking? We are making pierogies, traditional Ukrainian pierogies for Orthodox Christmas. Orthodox Christmas is January 6th, which is the eve, and then January 7th, and it's such a wonderful holiday. Regardless how you feel about the religion, the traditions are wonderful, and we never skip it, even though we've been living in America for over 20 years. So this particular recipe, and because Christmas is always, Christmas Eve is without meat, so it's rich in vegetables, and it's also rich in grains, nuts, and mushrooms. So I have plenty of good mushroom recipes on my site, on my channel. And this one is made with the pierogies that we will be making. They're made with sauerkraut, and my mom makes her own sauerkraut. It is delightful. Check out the recipe. And it is served then under the mushroom gravy. So I'm going to walk you through this, and you start, it's very simple. You don't have to make your own sauerkraut to make these pierogies. Varenyky in Ukrainian they're called. Buy sauerkraut. If you could see this is how fresh sauerkraut looks like. It's not as sour, it's not as rotten, if you will. It's fresh and crunchy. But if you cannot find it, buy the regular supermarket sauerkraut and cook it down. So what I'm going to do is we have to drain it off the juices, and the juices are pure probiotics. It's a wonderful juice to take, particularly when you have stomach problems. Cabbage is wonderful for digestive tract issues, believe it or not. And in my day, when I was growing up, we would eat it if you don't have appetite. So it stimulates appetite. No wonder pickles, sauerkraut, probiotic, cleanses the gut, balances the flora in the gut, and gives you normal good appetite. So what we will do is, and these ones I will rinse a little bit because they've been sitting for a little bit longer in the fridge. So they'll look more like and they have also apples in them. My mom, when she makes sauerkraut, she always puts green apples, and the smell of them is wonderful. I don't know if it's an acquired taste, if it's for everybody, but it is wonderful. And what we will do, stuffing doesn't take much work at all. You will, this particular sauerkraut, I'm gonna put some water into the pan and leave it on the stove for about half an hour to let it cook down, and the cabbage will soften. Then I have fried onions that mom already prepared, and I will just mix them together and let them cook maybe for 5 minutes. Mom understands English perfectly well. 5 minutes together. You let it cool, and that is the stuffing. It's wonderful. And I'll also show you how to make dough. It's very simple dough, and I use it for pasta, for all sorts of dumplings, and it's not as intimidating as you might think. So I'll show it to you. Okay, so this is how much water is in the pan, and I will cover it. It's on the fire. You can also put a little pepper, which I will do. I'll cover it and let it cook for half an hour. Stir it a little bit. And here are the onions that I was talking about. They already fried. And what we're gonna do is mix them two together and let them cook for 5 minutes. And of course, at that point, I will add oil to the sauerkraut. Okay, so this is the cabbage. You see, it's pretty much dried. And I did add a little bit of water down the road and add pepper. Mom said you didn't need to. But at this point, when it's dry, there's no more liquid. Mom is adding onions sauteed. And then she's gonna lightly mix it. Масло добавлять не будешь? And she will also add a little bit of the olive oil. And it's just going to saute together for a couple of minutes. It will get a little bit of the saute color. It's not going to be, boiled cabbage, boiled sauerkraut. It will get a little bit of the color. Lower the fire. And I'll show you when it's finished. Okay, it is done. The cabbage is done. Now it just sits and cools down. And my mom will probably use it tomorrow. All right, my dear friend, I'm going to show you how to make dough. It might seem intimidating if you didn't grow up with it and didn't see it's done every weekend, every Saturday, Sunday. It was pierogi day, or if you wanted some good noodles in the chicken soup, in the chicken broth, you would have to make a little pasta. In the US, we have such a wonderful variety of pastas from all over the world. Fresh and dry and you name it. And you can even buy cut up dough, which I've done for years when I lived in New York City. They're pre-cut circles for pierogies. You buy them from the usually Chinese grocery, and they're made out of wheat flour, and they work wonderfully. But it takes literally not that much time to make it yourself. So what I'm doing, I have a pile of flour here, no salt, nothing, and I'm adding one egg at a time, mixing it, and then pulling it out of the sandbox. So once it's mixed a little bit, see, it's still nice and gooey, I'm pulling it out, closing the circle. I'll probably do about 7. This is exactly the same dough I would make if I want lasagna with homemade pasta. I wouldn't add water, which I would for the Ukrainian pierogi, just a little bit instead of 1 egg. But it's basically egg and flour, and that's it. All you need to do is knead it a little bit, and then I'll show you how to make it. And if you watched my video where I showed pelmeni, which is traditional Russian meat dumplings, you will see how easy it is to fill them up with whatever you want. It only depends on the size of the dumpling, of the pierogi or pelmeni, and the filling that goes in it. And pierogies, Ukrainians make with everything. And Poles have pierogies, and they have their own fillings, which are wonderful. Ukrainians have their own. The most traditional version that we're going to be making today for Christmas is made in Western Ukraine. The part of the Western Ukraine where we come from is made with stuffed cabbage. Poles make them with buckwheat, with other fillings. You can make it with cooked meat. Of course, mashed potatoes is a wonderful, wonderful pierogi. Then we have a number of sweet cheese, so it's sweet cottage cheese, or savory cottage cheese, where you would add lots of dill and maybe some feta, so it's a little bit on the it's a savory version. Or you would make it with the cottage cheese, our style, not American style, but more of the Eastern European style cottage cheese. Ton of them are made with fruits. Blueberries, one of my favorites. My grandma had a sour cherry tree right next to the summer kitchen, and every time you wanted cherry pierogies, all you would have to do is go get some cherries, and you wouldn't even need to pit them. You just have to spit the pits when you were eating them. But they were so good, so delicious. Poles make them with plums, and they sprinkle, the fruit ones are always sprinkled with sugar when they come out. It's only your imagination that limits you with the pierogies. Okay, I think I'm going to be finished with the eggs, and the last bit I will take some warm water, and some housewives would make a bigger ratio of water to eggs, so they wouldn't use as many eggs. Particularly when during the Soviet Union collapse, products were expensive, and because our entire systems of supply system fell apart when the Union broke. There were shortages for a long time. It took a couple years to recover from it. You can make it just as well with water. You see what I'm doing? I hope you can see. I'm mixing the water, and the dough is less, I want to say less, not even dense. I think it's softer. Egg gives it a little more bite. A little bit more bite because of the collagen and the proteins in the eggs make it a little firmer. You know, the egg noodles, they're a little, not crunchy, but a little firmer on the bite than the wheat noodles. Okay, so I prepared the base for it, and now my rings are off, and I suggest you take yours when you mix. And what I'm gonna do is put this all together in a single bowl of pasta. And then my mom, she loved making pirogies. It's a wonderful training for patience. You know, cooking is an art, and it's a form of art. See how it's coming together? And it didn't take me that long. And I actually love to make those, so my daughter then makes pasta with a machine. That's what I did as a kid and as a teenager. So it doesn't really faze me. I can make my own pasta, and you can do it too. Anybody can. So I'm gonna take just a little bit more flour, get all of this off my hands, I can smell the cabbage on the stove. It's smelling delicious. I don't know about you, but sauerkraut is one of my, I love vegetables, period. And I love sauerkraut. No pierogi, no nothing. Cook it like that. If you have good sauerkraut, you can do sausage and sauerkraut and serve it with mashed potatoes or egg noodles. We have right now, in my sunroom, we have a big pickling jar, ginormous like this, with sauerkraut. And it's good. You know, we all come with our traditions and our programs and our belief systems and habits. We are walking, talking habits. This is one of the habits, but it's so wonderful that you can take your habits, and if they're good, they'll thrive in any country, in any part of the world, you know? So I hope you see how the dough nicely came together. When you add a little water, it's much easier to mix than if it were pure egg. There was a time when I read a recipe and I decided to make my own Italian pasta, and it called for egg yolks only. My good Lord, I don't know whoever created that recipe. It's impossible to mix. Impossible. It is. You need a man to mix it. It's very hard when it's just egg yolks, just fat. Okay, it's nice and soft, nice and yellow. I'm gonna let it rest. I'll wrap it in the plastic and put it in the fridge to rest. It could sit there for a couple of days. We don't have to make pierogies today. So she loves making pierogies. It's very soothing for her to do this. Да, мам? Ты любишь делать varenyky. It's very peaceful, soothing. It's wonderful. Christmas Eve morning, as a matter of fact. And she's going through the dough. She's cutting it, rolling it, make like a little sausage out of it. If you want very specific instructions, please watch my mushroom ushki recipe. I show exactly how it's done. And she doesn't really roll it, she squeezes it. See how funny it is? Every housewife does it differently. I roll them, and she doesn't. She puts them in and punches them in. I like my pierogies thin, small. See how small they are, nice and pretty. And then this will go into the freezer. We'll freeze them. And this is the process of making pierogies. Very easy. And she puts a lot of love in them. Can't buy this in the store. It's etheric. Unless the store puts love in it too. Okay, so this is how Mom prepares her little pieces of dough to wrap. You know, she uses funky knife. I do it completely differently, but this is how she does it. And she doesn't even roll them. Look what she does. A little flour. No rolling pin. I don't know why it's sitting there. Maybe she will roll. But she squishes them. Ты будешь раскатывать?
Буду.
Oh, yeah, she will roll. She will roll, she said. But first she has to prepare. See how pretty they come out? They're beautiful. And the stuffing, the filling is wonderful. And the weather is gorgeous. And I'm making some eggs and toast for my daughter. Sorry, I think it's burning a little bit. It's these beautiful heirloom eggs. They're wonderful. Shut them down. Ты раскатала? Покажи, как ты раскатываешь, ма. See, she takes them, layers, puts 3 or 4 together and rolls them. That's how she does it. And everybody does it differently, and there is no hard rules. You know, whatever she's used to doing, she's doing. And it comes out great every single time. See, all of that dough got used up just for one pen. And Mom wants to make more. She wants to make some with potatoes, which is awesome to have for a rainy day when nobody feels like cooking. And see how peaceful it is. And it didn't really take her that long, maybe 20 minutes. And it comes with skill. It really does. Okay, so Mom is done. See, this is it. She has a couple of left empty ones, and we call them varenyky. They're just empty. You just cook them with butter. And some people like it, butter and sour cream. These I wrote that they're cabbage. They went in the freezer. They froze a little bit, so they're nice and hard. I'm gonna freeze them, and those will go in the freezer. And this is it. Please enjoy, please try. Мама, посмотри, улыбнись. Скажи, попробуйте.
Try this cook.
Yes, this is very good.
Very good.
And watch our video about the Ukrainian Christmas so you know how they look when they're cooked and how to serve them. You can have them with mushroom gravy or just plain butter. And we love sour cream with butter. And please subscribe to our channel. Much love to you, dear friend.